What is up, Colorado Buffalo fans? Welcome on in to the Sko Show right here on Mile High Sports, powered by our friends over at Peckish. I tell you guys all the time about DB, Danny Bailey. He's filling in for the great Chase Howell, who is on assignment, as we like to say in this industry. But we're getting ready to talk about the Colorado Buffaloes Cincinnati game coming up this weekend. The third week in a row, they're going up against a team with the name Cats in their name, Danny.
Yeah, I think it's worked out well for them so far. They played a really great game against Kansas State, even though they didn't get the win. Knocked off the Wildcats down in the desert last week. And now the Bearcats, well,
34-7. They destroyed them.
They could have probably put more points up. Honestly, if we're being honest, they could have had more points if Travis played the entire game. But we want Travis to be healthy as possible. We also want Travis to be in New York when they're giving out the Heisman, because he should be getting it. And we need him to play in games for him to get that. And he needs to play in games. And I'm sure he wanted to play more in that game, but also let's get that shoulder healthy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And that, from what we saw on the broadcast and what we've seen this week, that was more of a precaution. When you go into halftime against Arizona with essentially the game, bowed up and ready to go with a 3-touchdown lead, I believe, when they went into halftime. You don't have to push Travis Hunter. And I'm seeing here on social media that he was on his own show, the Travis Hunter Show, said I'm 100% now.
Yep.
So looks like he'll be ready to go this week against the Cincinnati Bearcats. But yeah, man, let's talk about that matchup against Arizona real quick, because one of the big takeaways that I've had on doing the show, whether it's you and I kind of talking at number 38 at the watch parties or actually doing the show with Chase Howell, is this team seems to get better as the weeks go along. And I felt like their 34-7 victory against Arizona was their most dominant, complete victory of the season. Yes, Colorado State was a good win, but you're expected to kind of stomp on the Rams, for lack of a better phrase. Arizona, Big 12 opponent, right? Some more talent across the board. I know they're riddled with injuries, but to me, that was a complete performance for Colorado against U of A.
Absolutely. And they shut down the U of A playmakers. We were talking all week about McMillan. We weren't sure what that matchup was going to be like, him going against Travis Hunter, or if they did something different. It didn't really matter how they defended him. They were able to take him out of the game, essentially. He only had 38 yards. So
crazy.
That's not going to do a whole lot for you. And then Fafita too, they took him out of the game. They limited what he was able to do. They got after the quarterback. So, man, really shout out to coaches Dancy and Coach Hart, the linebackers coach. They've been crushing it all year, bringing this defense along. And this defense, I mean, let me read you some numbers in the Big 12 right now, AP, on tackles. Cam Stillman-Craig leads the Big 12 in solo tackles, 41. Nikai Hill-Green, 4th in the Big 12 with 34. And our guy, DJ McKinney, finesse way. You see the hoodie that AP's got right there. DJ McKinney, 7th in the Big 12 at the cornerback position with 31. He's first for cornerbacks, but cornerback that tackles, that's a guy who's going to play at the next level.
Yeah, in this day and age, absolutely. And for any of you that are looking to learn a little bit more about the player DJ McKinney, we have the full interview uploaded on the Mile High Sports YouTube channel. I had the opportunity to catch up with him one-on-one a couple of weeks ago. Incredible kid, man. He's going to be a stud for the rest of the time he's in college, but in particular when he makes that transition to the NFL. But this goes out for the chirpers in the comments. I love that you're giving the coaches the shout out, because I forget. We always we give Warren Sapp his love. We give Robert Livingston his love. And then, in the comment section of the Sko Show, we've always got folks that are like, not enough coaches are getting credit. You guys need to name this person and that person. So shout out to Danny Bailey. I also love that you have the physical notebook, right? I have my screen in front of me, but Danny's got the actual written notes down. So how crazy is it that Colorado was an underdog in that game against Arizona? I was feeling under the weather last week. That's why we didn't have a show. But I was watching the game, and I did the Locked On Buffs postcast on the Locked On Sports Denver YouTube channel. And I was sitting myself, scratching my head. In what world was Colorado supposed to be an underdog in that game? I don't get it.
Well, it's disrespectful, right? Because we've seen Colorado coming along these last couple weeks. And when they were 15.5-point underdogs was that the UCF game?
Yeah, 2 touchdown underdogs. Wild.
2 touchdown underdogs to UCF. I thought that was disrespectful. Then they have to go to Arizona. It's a little more understanding. But still, I mean, if you're going to give me plus money on the Buffs right now when they're firing on all cylinders, forget about it.
That's exactly where I'm at as well. And Coach Prime had a fun quote about this, talked about being the underdog, how he thinks it's kind of sexy to play that underdog type of role. Less about the betting lines, but more so going into an opponent's stadium and, doing the darn thing, for lack of a better phrase. Here's what Coach Prime had to say about Colorado and his team being underdogs.
We like to be booed and they say it and hate it. That turns us on. Turns us on. It's kind of sexy, matter of fact. That's how I felt when I played. I mean, I love to be on the road and get booed and they say it and hate it on it. I think we like being the underdogs and we like being those type of people. Not that we don't look at the betting line or whatever. Underdogs meaning on the road, away from home. But we like that. We like that. We really do.
It turns him on. That's what Coach Prime had to say about being the underdog, with the haters and the naysayers and everybody out there that loves to chirp about Colorado. And, I think the public is starting to realize that this team is legit and that they're going to be, not an underdog moving forward in every single game. But at the end of the day, if the public and the haters and opposing teams want to keep doubting him, you brought up the point, Danny, UCF underdog. Baylor, I believe they were a slight home underdog in that one, if I remember correctly. That usually bodes well for Colorado.
Yeah, and I think it makes me wonder a little bit. He talked about how he liked it when he was playing, when he got to go on the road and be in those type of environments. Last year, maybe so much fanfare and so much spotlight on Colorado in a positive way that they didn't really get that edge. And this year, where it's kind of flipped on them and a lot of people are hating, like you said, a lot of people naysaying, and they get to go out and prove people wrong. And that's where he thrives. That's probably where Shedeur and Shiloh thrive. And I'm sure that Travis Hunter, as the first 5-star recruit to ever go to an HBCU, I mean, I'm sure that drives him a little bit too, that they said, you can't do it there. He did it there. You can't do it at the next level. He's doing it at the next level. So I think this team thrives on it. And it's fun to watch because those type of teams are the ones that are always going to take it down to the end, no matter what. So even if they are counted out, even if they are underdogs, this team is in every game this year, unless they're just absolutely blowing their opponent out of the water.
I'll put it this way too. I think if CU were to play Nebraska right now, I think whether it was in Lincoln or in Colorado or in Boulder, I think the outcome of this game or that game would be a lot different. I think this Colorado team right now on October the 24th, as we're recording this, is a lot different than the Colorado team that we saw that waltzed into Lincoln week 2. The cream rises to the top. I think we've been seeing that as well. So I love the adjustments they've made. And to Danny's point, that underdog, they play with that chip on their shoulder. I think it only bodes well for them. But real quick, guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Peckish. I just saw that Travis Hunter was up there on the hill. 2 locations across town in Colorado, one in Boulder on the hill, as I just mentioned. And be sure to check out their brand new location for any of you Buff faithful that are in and around the Denver metro area, located right off of Bellevue and I-25, serving craft pizza and award-winning wings with a full beer menu and cocktail menu in the heart of Bellevue Station in the Denver Tech Center. Peckish is an incredible place to get your game day grub, or be sure to check out their fantastic weekday lunch specials as well. Danny and I have had the opportunity to go over there a handful of times. That honey garlic sauce on their chicken wings is absolutely fantastic. They've got I feel like a dozen different sauces. Let me read some of them to you guys here real quick, because all of them are absolutely phenomenal. You've got your mild buffalo, you've got your hot buffalo, you've got your honey garlic, you've got your barbecue, you've got your lemon pepper dry rub, you've got your Cajun dry rub, you've got your Louisiana voodoo, you've got your garlic parm, you've got your spicy barbecue, sweet chili lime, buffalo garlic, ranch, and homemade blue cheese as well. The ranch is absolutely positively phenomenal. Be sure to check out our friends over at Peckish. You can follow them on social media or check them out online at peckishco.com. Every time we've been there so far has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's delicious food, great service. And as a Buff, someone who spent 4 years in Boulder, I walked into the Bellevue location and I felt like I was right back in Boulder with all the CU stuff all over the walls. So great environment and absolutely phenomenal food. So shout out to Peckish. They're killing it.
Yeah, it's absolutely delicious, man. And they're our new sponsor here on the Sko Show, so be sure to show them some love again. And sometimes you don't know what you want to eat pregame. Like, I'm a big guy that doesn't like to eat at the games when I actually go. I'd rather get something before or after. And if you're going up to Boulder for the last handful of home games this season, Peckish has got to be your #1 destination. I've had their smoky barbecue chicken pizza. It comes with smoked cheese, breaded chicken, bacon, and barbecue sauce. Check out this one, Under the Tuscan Sun dried tomato. pesto sauce, sausage, sun-dried tomatoes, and basil. And my favorite one that we've had there so far is the meatball madness, which is sliced meatballs, roasted red peppers, and ricotta cheese. Absolutely, positively phenomenal. Be sure to check out our friends over at Peckish. Let them know that the Sko Shows sent you. Incredible pizza, incredible wings in Boulder and the Denver Tech Center. But continuing along with the conversation, for those of you that don't know, Danny and I went to a lot of the games last year together as media. This year, we have some Mile High Sports watch parties that we're doing. So Danny's with me for those watch parties on the road games, but have you missed a home game yet this season?
No, not yet.
So you were there last year. You've been there this year. How do you feel like things are maybe a little bit different this year, maybe compared to last?
Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a different vibe. Last year, it felt very new. And it was kind of everyone's still finding out what it was like having Coach Prime in Boulder. Now, after a year, we know what it's like having Coach Prime. We know there are going to be celebrities on the sideline. Obviously, last week, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant, a bunch of current Nuggets players were at the game on the sideline. So there are big stars in the stadium. The stadium is full all the time. I like looking across from the press box and seeing the Heisman with the 1-2 in the middle for the I and the S for Travis Hunter. That's a very cool sign that I've seen flown at Folsom Field the last couple home games. But the experience is just a little bit different. I don't know if it has to do with going from the Pac-12 to the Big 12 or the fact that just this team has truly taken a step up. They are a better team this year. They're more confident in themselves. And I think that they are just more together. The school as a whole is fully behind them. I think last year there were some people that were maybe a little hesitant to get on board, but they saw how beneficial it has been to have Coach Prime and have this great crop of student athletes up in Boulder. Now everyone's behind them, and we're chasing a Big 12 title potentially, a spot in the playoff potentially. We're going to get Peggy to that bowl game
for sure.
But Coach Prime said he wants it to be a nice bowl game.
Yeah, you don't want the I don't know. There's so many random bowl games out there these days. I wouldn't mind the Pop-Tart bowl game though.
There are a lot of good bowl games. There are a lot of good bowl games, but in my opinion, there's too many bowl games right now.
Yeah, it kind of waters it down a little bit, and that's the thing. Like, there's a difference between some of the upper echelon bowl games and just a bowl game that is sponsored by some random company that you've probably never heard of.
Absolutely.
But I think Colorado's certainly trending in the right direction, man. And what has it been 4 or 5 years since their last time that they were in a bowl game? I believe I saw since 2005, if I remember correctly, was the last time they actually won a bowl game. So it's been a long time coming. But the reason I ask you that is Coach Prime also had a good quote talking about how they've kind of earned their keep this season, that Colorado has earned what they are. Here's what Coach Prime had to say about the progression of his team and how this season has gone.
We've earned what we are. We actually feel like we're better than what we are because we're just starting to see the fruit of the work and the understanding of the expectation that we have for ourselves. Forget what others have of us, but what we have for ourselves. And, not that I'm looking back, but dropping the last one at home was tremendous. We could be in a much better place. But we control our own destiny, and we like that. So we're going to apply pressure not only to our own team, not only to the coaches, but we're going to apply pressure to the opposing teams because we want to win out. And we cannot do that without winning Saturday.
Well, and I completely agree with that type of dynamic with Colorado because I've told you personally, privately, on camera, off camera, it felt like last year was a little bit like a reality TV show. And it always is because of all the cameras and the social media and all that kind of stuff. But like it felt like it was more about the spectacle than the actual play on the field. This year, I don't see Shedeur doing the watch as much. Like they feel a little bit more refined as a program, and they're letting their play do the talking as opposed to, their talking do the yapping, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of the day, when you're in a conference like the Big 12 and you're going to be tested week after week, and you're going to have to be able to put up with different kinds of attacks that you're facing, you have to be a well-rounded, complete team. And they have grown to be a well-rounded, complete team. They're keeping Shedeur clean. He's not getting hit as much. I think that's huge for this offense. Also, the defense has found a way to go from anybody being able to run as much as they want on them to absolutely stuffing the run. Whenever they plan to stuff the run, they'll do it. So it seems like they've come a long way. We've given credit to some of the coaches already. I want to give a little bit of credit to Pat Shurmur, because even though the score dictated it in the last game, they finally ran the ball the amount of times you should run a ball probably every game. So we need to see them continue to be committed to that kind of thing, committed to stopping the run, committed to running the ball. That's what tough football teams do. This is a tough football team now. They might not have been that tough before. They have become very tough, and they're tough as nails this year.
That's a great point. They are way tougher this year, it appears, than they were last year. What is it? Leaders and dogs is what Coach Prime likes to kind of use as terminology instead of team captains. They've got some dogs on that defense, man, guys that set the tone. And I want to go back to your conversation or your topic of establishing the run. It is so imperative. The common denominator in every win for Colorado this season, for the most part, has been their ability to establish the run. Part of the reason why Colorado was able to get out to that blazing start against Arizona last week. Yes, I know, who is it? Will Shepard, or I forget the receiver now, but they threw that big third or fourth down play that got them to the goal line essentially on that first drive after a sack. But Isaiah Auguste, 53 yards on 14 carries. I know that's not sexy on paper. I know it's not. But it goes a long way in taking the weight of the world off Shedeur's shoulders. He's thrown more interceptions this year than he has last year, and we've still got, 4 or 5 games left to play. I think some of those have been fluky. But at the end of the day, whether it's Isaiah Auguste, whether it's Dallin Hayden, whether it's Michael Welch, whether it's the concerted play calling from Pat Shurmur, which we've seen in some of the well-off media clips, establishing the run and forcing the opposing team to respect the run game, all it does is work wonders for everybody else on that Colorado Buffaloes offense, in particular, Shedeur and the wide receivers.
Yeah, and you don't have to be running the ball for 100 yards every game, but you got to be brushing up against it, and you got to have some chunk plays. So when you see a guy like Dallin Hayden be able to come in and rip off a 27-yard rush, that is a huge, huge hit to the defense.
Yes.
So if you can impact the defense in that way, it makes it that much easier for Shedeur. It makes it that much easier for LaJohntay Wester to run all over, for Jimmy Horn to run all over.
Catch LaJohntay Wester.
LaJohntay, yeah. LaJohntay has been absolutely incredible this year. He unfortunately didn't get a touchdown, which I think breaks a several game streak that he was on, but he doesn't care because he knows that he's going to probably get 2 next game. So it's been incredible to watch this offense develop and actually become a full offense. Jordan Seaton has been having some great games, just absolutely whooping up on pass rushers. And again, you keep Shedeur's jersey clean, let him scamper in for a couple touchdowns, let him throw 3 or 4 more. I mean, this is a team where the sky's the limit, and they have, I'd say, a pretty favorable schedule to finish out the year to give them an opportunity to make a run at a significant bowl game.
I agree. And when it comes to the bowl game or even potentially the college football playoff, like, obviously your easiest path to getting into the CFP is going to be winning the Big 12. There's still, like, that Kansas State loss definitely hurts, but there hasn't been one team that, in my opinion, has really separated themselves from the rest in the Big 12. There's a chance that if Colorado wins out, they could be that at-large bid for the college football playoff as well. And so they got to, do their job, take care of who's on their schedule. But again, with the rushing attack, they rushed for $150 last week. And this Cincinnati defense is middle of the pack, not even middle of the pack, 14th in the Big 12 against the run. So look, we know that Colorado wants to pass the ball. They've got an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver, but the weakness, for lack of a better phrase, on the Cincinnati defense when you're trying to attack that is their rushing defense. So I'm looking for another big game from Isaiah Auguste. I'm looking for a big game from Dallin Hayden, Michael Welch, that 3-headed monster in the backfield, and then run the pass or get the run game going, and then open up the pass game for Shedeur and company. So I'm excited for that. And I think to your point, through your point as well, Danny, the ability to keep Shedeur upright. Right? Like, we've talked about that time and time again on the show and whatnot, but I think the offensive line is doing a much better job in that department, led by Jordan Seaton and company. I've told you guys this before. I had the opportunity to briefly chat with Jordan Seaton at the Super Bowl last year. I mean, he's like Danny and I and Alex Becker behind the glass, like, put together. I mean, the guy is an absolute wall of an offensive lineman, and he's mature beyond his years. He's playing like a first-round draft pick right now as a true freshman, a teenager still. And I think as long as they establish the run and keep Shedeur upright, man, he's going to pick this defense apart.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you brought up how great the offensive line's been playing. Let's shout out another coach. We'll shout out Phil Lodeholt. He's doing a good job with that O-line. He's gotten them to mesh because I believe they turned over essentially the entire line from last season. And they brought in all new guys across the board. and it's working. So credit to the coaches for getting this group to buy in, and credit to the guys for executing on good game plans week after week as they learn who they are as a team. A couple things about Cincinnati. You brought up the rush defense. A thing that is maybe not concerning, because I just said this team can go to the college football playoff, but turning the ball over, to me, has been huge throughout the year for the Buffs.
Yep.
Shedeur, you said it. Some of the interceptions are a little fluky. I get it. They had some issues with the snap this past week, where there were a couple that were a little iffy there, and one that was even turned over. So we need to see that kind of thing cleaned up. But Cincinnati doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. And so we're going to need the playmakers out there on the defense, of which there are many, to go out there and turn the ball over. I guess they do lose some fumbles. They've lost 6 fumbles this year, but their quarterback has only thrown 4 interceptions.
Right.
This is a Jacob Hoying. They've got playmakers on the defense, the Buffs do, that can take the ball away. We've seen back-to-back weeks with a Colton Hood interception, true freshman out there at cornerback. DJ McKinney can obviously take the ball away, and then our guy Travis Hunter. So I'm hoping that they can maybe throw 2 interceptions on this guy in this game, just because they have so much talent back there, and that'll help even if Shedeur does make 1 or 2 woohoo plays or whatever they are.
Yeah, well, I think one thing that bodes well for Shedeur in this game, and yeah, whether they're woohoo plays or whatever you want to call them, Cincinnati's defense is tied for last in the Big 12. They only have 3 interceptions this season. So they're not like a very opportunistic, or at least so far from what we've seen, an opportunistic defense in regards to generating turnovers via the interception. So I think as long as your running backs and receivers take care of the ball, and again, it's been uncharacteristic for Shedeur to throw some of these interceptions, whether they've been lucky or not, or bad plays or not. I expect Shedeur to refine his game as well. But I think, kind of going back to Colorado's defense here, Cincinnati has a pretty balanced attack. Right, like against UCF, we knew that they were going to try to establish the run, and so Colorado was able to game plan for that and essentially take that away from the Knights at that point. But Cincinnati has a good mix of a solid passing quarterback, Brendan Sorsby, as you mentioned, and running back Corey Kiner. So they're going to look to run and pass the ball, maybe a little bit more of a pro-style offense, which I think maybe keeps the Buffs defense on their toes. But I think, to your point, Robert Livingston, the rest of the defensive staff has done a great job of adjusting as these games go along. But here's a question for you. Knowing that Travis Hunter is Travis Hunter, the best player in college football, but also knowing that Colorado has an embarrassment of riches at wide receiver, LaJohntay Wester, Will Shepard, Jimmy Horn Jr., do you let Travis play one side this weekend and say, hey, Trav, focus on defense because you're going to be more impactful for us there going up against the Cincinnati offense, knowing that you have the talent that you do on offense, and then maybe swapping him back into the offense if you need him, if you're struggling a little bit, or do you let him play both ways?
If Travis wants to play both ways, I'm letting Travis play both ways. I think he is such an enormous help on both sides of the ball that if you want your best chance to win, you're going to play him on each side. But at the same time, I would maybe limit some of those offensive snaps because of the embarrassment of riches. As you said, you have guys that can outrun any defender. You have guys that can outjump any defender. You don't necessarily need Travis on every single 3rd and long, but you might need him on a couple critical plays if you're feeling like you're in a little bit of a tight spot. So I would use Travis a little bit more strategically on the offensive side and let him really go out and eat on defense. So yeah, Brendan Sorsby, I misspoke earlier. Brendan Sorsby, 4 interceptions on the year, 13 touchdowns, but the Buffs are a defense that Cincinnati has not faced this year. Cincinnati went to UCF, much like the Buffs did. They beat UCF, but they only beat UCF 19-13. The Buffs put 48 on UCF.
Yep.
So I know that it's tough because matchups are always different between teams to teams, but I like to look at common matchups because when you've played the same team, especially on the road, that's a pretty good indicator of what your team is. So I think that the Buffs have a very good chance to make the most of this. Another late kick, which Coach Prime's talked about not really liking. And I get it.
I don't like him either.
I get it. He doesn't like it. That's fine. He's going to get his wish. Their last game of the year, 10 a.m.
It's going to be the early. Well, about as early
10 a.m.
right?
against Oklahoma State. That's the last game of the year. So he's going to get his early game finally. But that's at the very end of the year. The rest of the games are still TBD. They'll have some more of these night games, and they haven't been great in the night games.
Is Arizona the earliest game they've played this year? Or UCF?
Yeah, probably. UCF was early too.
Weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
so the late games at Folsom Field, there is some magic to them, but at the same time, it kind of, Coach Prime talked about it messing with their schedule. So they're going to try to get them a little bit more onto a different schedule for this week so that they can be ready it's late to play football. They practice during the day. So it makes more sense when they play a day game. That's the time their bodies are usually ready to be out there balling. So I hope that they've found a good method to kind of capture this night and make the most of it. I believe Juju Lewis will be in the building. One of the top QB recruits in the country. So hopefully they put on a show, but it's going to be a great game.
I think they will, man. I feel pretty confident about Colorado in this matchup. I do. It's a big matchup, though, kind of for the state of the season, right? Because you got two teams that are both 5-2, both 3-1 in Big 12 conference play. And so the outcome of this game, I think, will go a long way in determining what type of bowl game each team could potentially play. You know, if they win this game, they're going to accomplish the mission set out for Miss Peggy. But then from there, there's still plenty of work to do in regards to getting into some of those higher quality bowl games and trying to make a push for the college football playoffs. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. Coach Prime had his thoughts on the matchup, talked about how they both kind of match up pretty similar statistically. Here's Coach Prime's view on Colorado versus Cincinnati from his press conference earlier this week.
Cincinnati, they're playing really good football. If you match up statistically, we're kind of right there with one another. Our defense may have the edge just a little bit, but offensively, they have a lot more balance with running and passing the football. I like what they're doing. They're not flashy. It's not a sexy thing, but they get the job done. And I love the way they attack. I love the way they get to the ball. I love what they're accomplishing this season. It's a tremendous task. We cannot make mistakes, and we cannot start off slow. We got to go get them. We got to go at them. And that's what we plan on doing.
All right, so there's Coach Prime's thoughts on the matchup between Colorado and Cincinnati coming up this weekend, a late kickoff right around 8:15 Mountain Time. Colorado, a 5.5-point favorite at home for this one. When they're an underdog, it seems like, the odds makers and everyone's kind of catching up to Colorado here. They tend to do very well, covering spreads, winning games outright. When they're a favorite, haven't been so hot. What do you make of this matchup a little bit from a betting perspective?
Well, they keep making him an underdog and getting killed. So you got to make him a favorite and try to make some of that money back. I think that it's probably a decent bet. I see Colorado winning this one by a touchdown or more. It could always get a little funky at the end. And that's the thing that maybe would worry me if I was going to bet the game. But I think that Colorado wins this by a touchdown or more easy.
Yeah, I like your analysis of it as well. And I think the two keys for me, setting the tone on defense and establishing the run. I know running the ball is not sexy. Running the ball is not exciting. But Shedeur's had the interception situation, all that kind of stuff. And I just think if they play clean football. Let me also give a shout out to Shedeur Sanders, man. We had some people a couple weeks ago chirping us in the comments about, Chase and I kind of going in on Shiloh a little bit. Great bounce back.
No, Chase was pretty much defending Shiloh. I think it was just you that.
Probably just me.
But it's okay because Shiloh recognized he had a bad game when he came back. He said he didn't play well against Kansas State. What did he say? Worst game of his career?
Yeah.
And then he came out and he responded and he played a better game last week. And I liked what I saw when they had Shiloh moving up and blitzing. I want to get Shiloh in the backfield. He wants to hit people hard. Let him do it 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Let him go attack the quarterback. That was the last thing I wanted to bring up. Getting after the quarterback, getting after Sorsby. The Buffs have 3 guys with 3 sacks each. BJ Green the second, Samuel Okunlola, and Tajay McCoy. Tied for 11th, all 3 of them in the Big 12. So just outside the top 10. So I hope a couple of these guys get another sack or 2 and pop into the top 10 in the conference in sacks, because this defense, by the numbers and by what you see with your eyes, has grown so much. So fun to watch.
I'm excited for it, man. It's going to be a fantastic matchup. And again, if you're looking for a place to watch the game or get some pre or post-game grub, be sure to check out our friends over at Peckish. They are a presenting sponsor right here on the Sko Show. And super happy to have them on board. You can visit them at their brand new location, the Denver Tech Center, 5920 South Newport, right off of I-25 and Bellevue in Bellevue Station as well. Guys, like I said, if you're in and around the Denver metro area, fantastic chicken wings, fantastic pizza. They got the 4 Little Pigs pie, pepperoni, sausage, bacon, salami. I told you about the barbecue chicken. For the veggie lovers out there, features marinated artichokes and sun-dried tomatoes. They've got something for everybody at Peckish, whether you're feeling pizza, wings, or both. Award-winning chicken wings. I cannot get over that honey garlic. I think Danny and I are going to head over there after we record the show and get some lunch ourselves because it is that good that I want to go each and every week. So again, 2 locations, one in the Denver Tech Center, and if you're going up to the game or if you're a student up in Boulder, be sure to check out their location on the hill. It is Coach Prime approved. It is Shedeur Sanders approved. It is Travis Hunter approved. That is all you need to know.
And it's Sko Show approved.
And it's Sko Show approved. Absolutely. That's all you need to know about our friends over at Peckish. Again, be sure to check them out online, peckishco.com. Let them know Sko Show sent you. Top tier wings and pizza. But all right, before we get out of here, my friend, you said you like the Buffs to stomp Cincinnati. I like them to win. They kind of, I don't want to say that I'm nervous about this game, but it's like when I expect them to kind of, put up a fight and maybe lose a tough one, they blow them out. When I expect them to go in and win and throttle a team, not that I expect them to beat Kansas State, but they let me down in that game. I like Colorado to win this one, though. I agree with what I said earlier in the show. I think this is a much different team right now than it was against Nebraska. I'm looking forward to seeing how they respond after last week's blowout victory against Arizona. And to your point, if they check off their boxes on offense and defense, they're going to move to 6-2 on the year and get Miss Peggy to that bowl game. I love it.
Sko Buffs.
Sko Buffs, baby. All right. Guys, make sure to subscribe to the Mile High Sports YouTube channel. That way you guys can never, ever miss an episode of the Sko Show each and every week right here on Mile High Sports. And happy you guys were able to see Danny Bailey. Show off the shirt real quick, man. Let's see that Joker tee.
I can see it up here big behind you, too.
You got the magazine cover. We got it on a T-shirt. Hey, and if you want the Finesse Way hoodie from our guy, DJ McKinney, be sure to check him out on social media. He's selling those, I believe, on his Instagram as well. This is the highest quality hoodie I've ever owned in my life. So be sure to check that out. Absolutely love it.
That's great merch. It's good looking merch.
Absolutely it is. And it's going to be a good game this weekend. Colorado and Cincinnati. Looking forward to it. Check out our friends over at Peckish. Enjoy the game. Subscribe, like, comment. Let me know your score predictions. And we'll be back at it again soon with a new installment of the Sko Show. Sko Buffs, baby.
Sko Buffs.
Let's go.